Hey guys, it's Linda Winter of Winter Design. So I want to talk about what was my favorite template, the box bag. This house shape, it actually goes like this on most of the projects. This came in this size originally, way back when. This came in like that, and then I had people say, why don't you make a bigger one? So I made a large, and then I had people say, why don't you make a smaller one? So I have a small. So this is the regular, it's called box bag. This is a box bag large, and this is a box bag small. Originally, I made fussy cut frames. Now, fussy cut frames are if you have a frog, a dog, a bear, a toad, if you have something that's really cute on your fabric or an embroidery design or whatever, and you want to get it placed exactly. So do I want it here? Do I want it here? Do you see? Let's see if I can get this right over here. I didn't pick a great fabric for fussy cutting because in a minute, I'm going to show you why I actually said, yes, we need the fussy cut frame. So do you see how when I turn this, I can change this, and I would really probably work on the right side of the fabric, but you get the idea. When I find what it is that I like, if I like that, notice right down here, that's part of the selvage right there. So I'm going to scoot it up a little bit so I don't waste that. Maybe I'm even going to scoot it over a little bit and see my frame, how I can still see where my fabric is. I'm going to go a little bit too far. And you can see right there, there's a little bit of yellow there. So that fussy cut frame lets me get exactly what I want, but not waste any of my fabric by making mistakes. This guy doesn't go in there. This guy does. This is a small fussy cut frame. That's the small box bag. I'm going to place this inside. When I place this inside, right inside there, I pop the fabric. And when I pop that fabric out, you can see how that lets me grab. With my rotary cutter, I would cut and cut and cut and cut and cut. In a minute, I'll do some cutting for you. So the small box bag has a fussy cut frame. The box bag, that's this guy. You notice it's just called box bag. That right there. So box bag regular, that also has a fussy cut frame. I didn't do a fussy cut frame on the large, but guess what? I'm going to do a fussy cut frame on the large because I'll show you a project in a few minutes, and the fabric I love for this, we're going to talk about doing something right there on the point. All right, so why did I come out with a fussy cut frame? Because if you watch any of my original videos, I said fold your fabric in half. So imagine I had something amazing right here and I wanted it to be centered. We'd fold that fabric in half and we'd give it a good press there. And when I bring that down, that point that's there, I don't know if y'all can tell, but that point right there, I can see that it's centered. You can also mark from your template from edge to edge the center. So I can make sure I got that perfectly straight and in the center. So I told everybody do that. Then I started doing projects with blue jeans. I'm going to show you why I needed to do the fussy cut frame. Because when you fold a pair of blue jeans in half, when you have a pocket there, notice here and notice here. If you ever see any pictures of this, you'll see it from this side because that's a little more centered. So when you have blue jeans, now you can place this on and frame out where you can see exactly where you want that pocket to go. So the box bag template makes boxes. That's why I love this so much, because this is such a great gift or a great storage, whatever. It also makes bags. This was my favorite bag for years, so much that it was my favorite. Do you see right there how it's all beat up? That right there, it's worn down to the interfacing that's here. I wore this at trade shows so much. This was my money bag. It had my credit card. It had just the little bits and pieces that I needed. So this, and I love making the straps longer so you can tie a knot in it, so you can wear it crossbody. But this guy here is the same size as this, believe it or not. So I have right here, this with the seam allowance here comes down to where that point is here. So what we end up doing is we sew 4 of these together at the bottom. There's the box bottom, and this is the bag top. So it's kind of opposite. So box bag was the creative name, very original, box and bag. That's what it makes. So I loved this template for years because it did so many other projects. And this was one of my favorite projects to do with it. It's the same as this little guy, but I boxed the corners. And when I boxed the corners, I don't know if y'all can see, but right here, this corner let's see if I can get, I want to show you my inaccuracies. You can see how this is crooked and this isn't the same length as this. It doesn't show up as well there. Let's see if I can go this way as it does right under my eyes. Under my eyes, this is way off. And this one's a little bit better, but it's not quite so perfect. So I did the same thing here that we have, but I went in and I added boxed corners. So why am I doing the video today? Because I want to show you a combination of whether you use the regular, whether you use the large, whether you use the small, whether you use the fussy cut frames or not. I want you to use them in combination with what I have up here in the front. So these are my Box It Square Place It templates. So I've got a video that I did on these, and I showed you how to do boxed bottoms. Here's a box bottom, there's blue jeans. Crazy quilting, all those scraps that you have left over. And then inside of here, I have lots of other projects. Let's see if I can pull that out, box bottoms. So go watch that video so you'll get a better idea of what these templates do. I'm going to pull this one over because this is the one I'm going to use probably the most for this project. But you can see each template, and I've gone in and colored these with metallic markers. So I've got a 1 inch and I've got a 2 1/4 inches. When I pull this one over, I've got 1 1/2 inches. That's the next smallest. And then over here, I've got 2. So I've got 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 3, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/2, 5. So you have 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 sizes of boxed corners that you can do with these templates. So we're going to use these in combination with the template, the box bag template. Whichever size you want to do, you're going to be able to use one of these to give you perfect mitered corners. Perfect box corner, sorry. My old zip bind system is coming out in me. All right, so let me show you this little project here. So there's a boxed corner, there's a boxed corner. This right here inside, if you're taking your lunch or something that might get dirty, this nice wipeable that you have here, this really works well. Notice too, I didn't put a snap or buttons or Velcro, because if this had a whole lot in it or didn't have anything in it at all, then where I put that placement would not be quite so right. But when I have something that's heavier, it automatically wants to close. I love doing that. That's what I did on that little blue one. That was one of the reasons why I love this so much. This thing is heavy, so you can see when I place this on my body, it's a crossbody bag. I don't need a button, Velcro snaps, any of that stuff, and I don't have to worry about placement. I just get something that's heavy. And guess what? Go to your old jewelry, go to your grandmother's jewelry, go to a garage sale, an estate sale. You're going to find stuff that's broken, beat up, and it really does a great job there. Here's another one that I have over here. On this one, I didn't put anything on, and do you see how that wants to flop back constantly? So I would have to put Velcro or a snap or a button or something here to be able to get that to close. It just doesn't want to stay by itself. So you decide what it is you want to do. This is the large box bag project, just like this. So you can see these two here. This guy here, this is the regular size, this is a large. There's no boxed corners, but you can put inside of here potatoes, corn, cauliflower, whatever it is that you want, stick it in the microwave. So this has 100% cotton batting, no scrim, 100% cotton thread, and the fabric has no metallic. It has to be cotton. So you can use flannel for this too. So this guy here is the same as this. It's the same as this. It's the same as this. It's just that I added the boxed corners. Boxed corners on these, and that changes everything. And this is one of my favorite projects to give. If you're going to make something for somebody and you want to do a little gift with something inside, money, gift cards, whatever it is, some lotions or those kinds of things, then this is a really great project to make. So I want to show you how to make this. This is the large. This is the regular. And remember that little guy? This is the regular too. Let me show you the difference here. See how much flatter this one is and how much taller this is? That's because I used one of the templates a little bit more here for the mitered, for the box corner here. I used bigger you can see here, than this one. Look how much thicker that is than this. So this just sits more squat. This sits up higher. You can change out that measurement. And again, you choose what it is you want. And notice it has one. One was the smallest, but no big deal. We can go smaller than that. And I'll show you how to do that too. So I want to show you how to make, we talked about the large, we talked about the regular. There's one on the floor. And then here's the little small guy. And you can see I never finish my projects. Ha, ha, ha. You guys that know me know that I never finish my projects. My seams are always unsewn. My little doodads are always not done. This, you can decide if you want to put that in before or put that in afterwards, but you decide what it is you want to do. That looks washed out there on that mat, but it's really cute in person. I want to talk about interfacings as well, because if you look at this, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little bumpy and lumpy. It's not so pretty. I used a Decor Bond there, and I like Decor Bond in the inside some, never on the outside for a project like this, because I don't want this bumpiness here. It gives you a little bit of stiffness, but I don't want that on the outside. I don't want it to show. So Decor Bond is great for a lot of projects, but I don't really like it so much here. I'm going to show you how to do, to look at some different options for that. Okay, so box bag. This is another box you can see. Thank you, Shirley, for making this for me. She made the regular size and she made a large size. And if we have time, I'll show you those at the end. Okay, so let's take a look if we were going to do the box itself. We are sewing a roof to a roof. So the roof to the roof, a roof to a roof, and then we sewed roofs. Imagine these two are sewn together like they are. Not imagine, they are sewn together. We're going to have sewn that first, sewn that second, and then we're going to sew these together. Once we've done that, then we're going to be sewing the sides together. We sew this side. We've already done that one. We've already done this one, so we'd basically just be stitching those up. You're going to tuck one inside of another, and you end up getting this. That's not what I'm going to teach you, because I have lots of videos that'll show you that. I want to show you how to do this guy today. So I'm going to pull over some of the fabrics that I have. Let's grab this. Let's grab this. And by the way, the small box itself turns out like this. So you can see this right here. That's a little small guy. And you can see this is basically what we're seeing here. And then the points there. All right, so small, regular, and large, this big guy. If you're going to give a big gift for kids or whatever, you know, a whole bunch of things, then this is a great one. If you're donating clothes to somebody, this is a great one to stuff full of all kinds of goodies. Okay, let's get these out of the way and let's get started. Okay, so I have several samples over here. I talked about cutting, so I want to show you how to do the cutting. We're going to do a little bit differently, but you know, it's really up to you how you want to get this done, because there's 1,000 ways to, I don't want to say skin a cat, because I have 5 kitties, so we're not saying that expression. So what have I done? Here I've used a fusible fleece. This is a thinner fusible fleece. Let me show you a thicker fusible fleece. I wouldn't use this on the regular, and I wouldn't use this on the large. Do you see how much thicker that is than this little guy here? I have this fusible fleece. Let me pull this over, and I'll show you the difference. This is the fleece that I like for the regular and the small. Can you see it's just lighter here? You can feel the difference. This just has a more thickness to it. This is the stuff, this lighter weight fusible fleece is the size that I like. And I think it's 20 inches. I'm going to be putting a kit together that'll have the fleece and the Fashion Fuse, which is also SF101. Those are the two that I really like. So that's an option for you. On the large one, you can use those, but you can also use the fusible foam. I love the fusible foam for the large ones, especially for your boxes, because, and even the regular size and the small boxes, this works really well. But right now, remember, we're talking about doing the boxed bag. So I'm going to get that out of the way. The SF101 or the Fashion Fleece, or Fashion Fuse, there's cat hairs on here. I wonder why. I don't know if you can see, there's a bumpy side right here. That bumpiness there, it's lightweight, but it's going to give you some stability too. So I like to do a combination of the thinner fusible fleece with the combination of the SF101 or Fashion Fuse. It goes by 2 different names depending on who you buy it for. This is the Decor Bond that I was talking about. I like Decor Bond for a lot of projects, but it just makes it a little bit too stiff. Can you see how stiff that is? And that ends up showing in your project. So it's not my favorite. Okay, so let me find my samples here. So we've got this. Notice what I've done here. I've given myself just a little bit more than I need to be able to cut. You can do that, or you can go ahead and cut your fusible fleece here and then iron that on. When you iron on, this right here doesn't have the fusible. This side here has the fusible. So when you iron on, you're not going to iron on your mat. When you're ironing, you're going to be at your ironing station. Iron from this side, from the top side, so that fusible really gets heated. If you're ironing this way, it's not going to stick. So you can do either way. So we're going to cut this. When I cut this, I'm a lefty, so I'm going to grab my rotary cutter, and I can actually do 2 or maybe 3 layers of this. I'm only going to need 1, though, for this project. And this project right now is going to be making this size that we're looking at here. Okay, so I've done that one piece, and I need an outside and I need an inside. Let's pretend that these go nicely together. And then on the back of that, I put that fashion fuse on here. We'll look at those in a minute in the step outs. Now I want to do this piece inside of here. Let me get that pin out. I'm going to do this piece right here. So this piece, I'm going to look at my template and I'm going to see how far do I want to go. Right here is where we go edge to edge. And by the way, if your template gets dirty, no big deal, as long as it's not something that's going to stain. But if it is something that's going to stain or that bothers you, packing tape, clear packing tape will work. All right, so what we want to do is look at where that is, and we want to cut a little bit below that. If you want to cut to that same size, you're welcome to do that. What I recommend you do, though, is grab a ruler. I have a 2.5 by 15.5 that does some really cute bags. Darla came up with a really cute project. We haven't done a video on it yet, but I'm going to go ahead and line that up, and I'm looking right over here on my mat, and when I place this down, I wouldn't work where the blue is. The blue is a little bit distracting, but I've got this side up for me, and I want to square that off. What I want to do is square off the part that's going to be this top right here. So we're going to square up, and then when I go to cut this, I want to make sure that I've got enough here so that I can play with that a little bit. And a lot of them I've actually done to right about here, actually. You decide how much of an opening it is that you want. You can see there's a lot of opening there. There's not as much of an opening there, but if you're going to put a handle on it, you want to have more opening. This one right here, there's not as much. Well, that's a pretty good size. And notice what I've done. Remember how I never finish off any of my projects? I like showing this for a boy, and I like showing it for a girl. The girl with a handle, the boy with no handle. So I just pinned these in place. But imagine you had a nice little tool that you had there, or just even a piece of fabric that you sewed on as a loop, and you could adhere that to that. Okay, so you decide how much it is that you want. So we're going to cut out this, where'd it go? We're going to cut out that piece, this piece here, and we're going to cut out this piece. So let's pretend that these go together. And what are we going to do? We're going to sew these together. Now you can look at this and kind of play around and decide, you know, when I'm closing that, do you see how close that is to the edge? So I don't have a whole lot of room. So if you want to bring this down a little bit, you're just eyeballing right now. And what we're doing again is making this piece and this piece. We're going to sew those two together. We're not looking at the green at all yet. So you decide. And again, right about there, you can see how much further up this is versus this one. Now that's got the boxes on there, so you can't really go by that. But what I did was I scooted it down a little bit. So you decide how much you want. More is always going to be better than less. What do? We stitch around, we stitch around, we stitch around. Make sure when you're doing the sides here, and doing the sides here and doing the sides here, that you stitch twice. Just stitch down once, stitch around, and then go back and stitch around again. Why? When we cut the box bottoms, we're going to be cutting any back stitching that we do. So if we've sewn in twice, we don't have to worry about those threads unraveling. So we're going to do that for the outside. We're going to do the same thing for the inside, and you can see I've got them all backwards. So let's do this one, and let's do that one here. Let's do this one, and let's do that one there. So we would actually be sewing them together. I'm missing a step out. It's amazing how even when I'm at home in my studio, I'll still miss something. So we're going to sew around. This is the inside, that's the outside. So we've got those ready to go. Let's go back and look over here when we've sewn that together. So I've sewn, this has got that SF101, this has SF101. I've sewn that together. Whatever size you're doing for the bottom, you want to think about how deep you want that box bottom to be. So you can see here, this and this, these are the ones that go together. You can see those. You can see what I've done here with this size. Let's find my box it, square it, place it templates. I think I'm going to throw all of these other things on the floor. No, I always do, and then I miss something. Okay, so you can see right here, when I look at this, I've got a 1-inch box bottom, and I don't really have a 1 inch because my seam allowance and my seam allowance there. So if I go to my seam allowance where my seam is, right inside of there, if I cut in and I cut in, I've got my 1 inch. What we end up getting, though, when we do this, though, is I've got here plus here. So whatever it is you're doing, it's going to be double what you're seeing here because we've only done one side. All right, so you can see that's not the size that I did here, not the size that I did here. I went to the 1.5. So I want to show you how we're going to use this template. And I'm going to place this right here, and I am going right along the edge. Now you've got a couple ways to do this. You can do it with your rotary cutter, or you can grab a pen. If you're not confident, or you're using a fusible fleece or the foam that's really thick, then grab a pen. And if you grab your pen, you can go in and draw, and we're going to place this over here, and then draw and draw those corners, and then you can cut them out with scissors. But because this template has a really cool technology, these cut marks, you can see there and there, the cut marks are going to allow you to cut inside of that. Now I'm a lefty, so I'm going to use my left hand for this, and my right hand is going to hold out of the way of where I cut. So we're going to go right here, and notice how this finger isn't anywhere close to that blade. So if I did end up like doing a woo, let's see if I can get that out. If I did like that, I'm not going to cut my fingers. So I don't know if you can tell, look how clean that cut is. It went right up to the edge. I'm going to turn this now a little bit and keep my hands out of the way because I don't want to cut my fingers. I want to make sure, with me being lefty, I want to make sure that I've gone right along that edge. And I moved it a little bit in turning, but do you see how there's a little bit of fabric that's there? So I want to make sure that I get all of that exactly where it was. My rotary cutter is in the way there, so I want to cut right along. And what that's going to let me do, see that little bit of excess that's there, and then I would use my scissors and I would cut. I've lost my pen, I've lost my scissors, I've lost it all. All right, so notice what I've done. I've got a perfect mitered corner, or box bottom, that's going to match the other box bottom. We would do the same thing over here and cut. And again, you can trace if you want to. Now remember how I said you don't have to go with just these sizes. If we wanted to do, we wouldn't, but on this big guy here, if we wanted to do smaller than the 1 inch, I can use my mat and I would line up my edges, and when I have everything lined up, I can, thank you, I can, let's go back to that pen. I got a pen. So I could go in and draw here and draw here. So if you wanted to do that. But if I wanted to do smaller, and again, this is not a great size for me to show, but let me show you on this little one here. If I wanted to do a smaller one, I could line up the edge and line up the edge on my mat. When I place this down, I'm going to guesstimate here and guesstimate there. Do you see that little bit that's hanging off of the edge and the little bit that's hanging off? I'm going to make this wrong. Do you see how that's on the edge and that's not? Now, if I wanted to skew this, then I could do that if I wanted to do that, but I really don't want to. So do you see how when I really wanted to change that boxed corner there, do you see how much excess that I have there and how much excess I have there? And that's where I would probably go in and use that pen and draw and draw. So if you were doing the small little guy here and you wanted to go smaller than the 1, then you could easily do that with these templates. So you decide. If I wanted something bigger, by the way, let's go to 2 1/4. Do you see right here? I'm going to place this on top, and I would turn and I would cut, and then I would cut. So you're going at the top. If you don't feel comfortable with right here, if you think your rotary cutter is going to cut further in, you've got your seam allowance that'll help you out. But if you're not comfortable, then you can draw your line and draw your line and then use your scissors for that. Okay, so let's take a look and see what we would do next. So we've got our outside, we've got our inside. Let me go ahead and cut that one for you guys just so you can see that it's done. I had step outs that I created, and I'm missing a couple of the step outs, but at least this way I can show you a little bit more of what's done. Now, when you're stuck in there, that's a good thing because that means that blade is right inside of there. Just pull back towards you. You can tilt forward as well. And again, just make sure you've cut right on that edge. I've got a little bit of excess there. And I'm just making sure that I get all of that. All right, so we have got our outside and we've got our lining. And you can now head to the sewing machine. All right, so we've got that there, and I'm not worried so much about whether that's consistent. Scissors are better, but again, my scissors are who knows where. Okay, linings and the outside are done exactly the same. We're gonna open this up. So I'm going to the corner. If you've seen my box it, square it, place it video, then you know there are many other ways to do box corners, but they're not gonna give you consistent results. What am I doing? I'm looking at the edge here and the edge here. They should be lined up, and I'm looking at the center. I like to turn one in one direction and turn in the other direction. They should nest right inside of there. You can pin if you want to, but you'll want to go right to your sewing machine and stitch that down. I have an edge stitch foot. It's a 1/4 inch piecing foot that I love for this. So my seam allowance never gets skewed by me, by inconsistency. So I do that corner, and when I'm finished, I come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. Now in a second, there's Monkey. We've made it pretty well without Monkey in the camera today, and then Monkey appears. Monkey is usually my camera star. Sylvester is off to the side usually. All right, Monkey, you need to go. And usually if I push her and get her down, she'll come right back up. So we're going to let her do her thing, and hopefully you all can see. All right, so when we do this other corner that we have here, we want to make sure whichever way we turned this side, that when we do this side, do you see how I don't want to do that wonkiness? Let's see if I can get that in the camera for you there. I want to have this going in the same direction. Monkey, get out of the way. If y'all know me and my kitties, Monkey is a real monkey. Okay, do you see how that direction and that direction? I want this laying flat. I don't want to have it in one direction folded one way and then folded the other way. So we would stitch that up. Same thing we're going to do over here. Reach inside and open that up. Pull nice and taut. That's going to take away a point. You normally get a point there if you don't pull that tight. So we want to pull these corners, these edges here, and those edges nice and tight, and then we're going to turn in one direction and turn in the other direction and stitch that down, your seam allowance. If you're doing a huge difference between foam, like the Bozo foam, and just a decor bond or an SF101 or any of those, then you do want to change your seam allowance. You want a wider seam allowance, a lesser seam allowance and a wider seam allowance here. That way, this is not going to have any problem fitting inside of there. And if you've made bags before, then you probably understand that. Okay, so we've got those corners done. What are we going to do? We are at the sewing machine, and here's what we've got. This has the decor bond. This has the SF101. And that decor bond and the SF101, again, this is a little bit thicker, a little bit stiffer than it is here. So when these come from the sewing machine, this is how this one comes. This one was turned the other way. So the one, if it's foam, if it's fusible fleece, and this is the lining, then whatever is thicker, put that inside. And you're going to have a wider seam allowance that you use here. When I've got this turned the right side, then I'm going to push this out, push this out. It's going to be turned anyway, but no big deal. We're going to go ahead and push that out, and we're going to tuck this inside. I don't care so much about lining up the corners and lining up the bottoms. That doesn't matter. It's lining up the point, and it's lining up the top. So I want to get in, push that down, and if you have to jumble it up some to get it in there, no big deal. Start at your point, and if you are going to add a dangle, if it's something that's heavy, you can't really put it inside in this size or in the smaller size because it's going to be a big bump here. But on the larger one, you can certainly put that inside at this point now. If it is something that you do want to add later on, then just don't stitch this part closed. You can have an opening there and leave that later on for you to stick something inside. Use your clips, use your pins, use whatever. I've got a straight pin here, and we're going to clip, and then I'm going to come over to the side. And do you see what I've done with my sides? Those are going to line up there, and I would want to pin that too. And I would do the next side as well. We'd line this up. See how this right here, my fusible, doesn't have to go all the way to the edge. That's part of the seam allowance. But now I may look at this and say, okay, that looks pretty good there. Look what I did here. Go back and fix that if you've got any inconsistencies when you add pins. Clips are usually better in this situation than pins. So add a pin there. We're going to stitch around here. And then when we get over to this, then we're just kind of pushing through. Again, I don't care what's happening down in the bottom right now because I use the templates. Everything's going to line up pretty accurately. What I want to do though here is start right inside of here, and I want to stitch to about here. Lock that in. I want to start stitching here to right about here, and we'll stitch. And that way it'll allow you to turn this right sides out. When you turn that right sides out, let's go to this little, well, let's go to this guy. This will be easier than that one. And because I don't see the one that I did as my sample for this. So what do we want to do? When we go to turn this right sides out, we're going to have, let's get this done fast. We're going to have, see that decor bond? I did the decor bond on a lot of the samples. And then I realized, nope, I really like SF101 and I really like the fusible fleece, the lighter weight fusible fleece. And again, I'm going to put those two, the combination 1 yard each, on my website, and I'll have them as bundles with the templates too. So if you're interested in buying any of the bundles, you can. Okay, so imagine that that has just been sewn like this. All right, and that would be inside. So we're going to be reaching in. This would have been inside as well. We're going to reach inside and we're going to start pulling out which one is the outside. This is the outside. So I'm going to go in here and we're going to push. I like to use scissors. And I like pinking shears to use as my turning tool. Pinking shears, I find they're thick enough, they're stiff enough, but they're not sharp enough at the point that I have to worry about any damage. Okay, so you can see what I've got, a mess. We're going to go to those corners, and now we do push out that corner, and we do push out that corner, and we push out that corner. So that's the only time I'm going to be able to work on those corners easily. I can work on them later, but I'm going to have to take stuff apart. I'm going to reach in, and this is where I would use those scissors. And again, the whatever kind of scissor that you don't have to worry about poking a hole through. If you have left an opening for a dangle or something else, you know, then you're going to have that little bit of an opening that you can close later on. So we want to push that out here. We want to go into those corners and push out those corners and push out the corners. You know you'll have a favorite turning tool that you like to use, but honestly, it's going to vary for me from project to project. I'm pushing inside, and now I'm pushing out the corners of the green, those boxed corners of the green. And we'd go to the ironing board and we would give this a good press. We would give this a good press. If you've got an oven mitt that you've made, or an oven mitt in your kitchen, especially one of those that fits your hand, stick it inside and then iron on top. It has changed everything about pressing for me. So imagine my ironing mitt, and I've got it right up here, flat on my hand, and I push. If you have an ironing mitt and it's burning your hand, then make yourself one with thicker batting with that Insul Bright that's in there. Okay, so you can see how we would continue to finagle that. This little piece right here, all I have to do is just kind of give it a start and give it a good pull, and that's going to close down. What do we want to do? Top stitch, top stitch, top stitch, maybe. You can do glue, you can hand stitch, it's totally up to you. If you did want to do a snap, it's too late. If you wanted to do a buttonhole, you could do it now, here. You'd have, you know, plenty of room to do the button. If you wanted to do Velcro, it's going to show. So you'd have to put, hang on monkey, sorry little girl, you would have to put something on top of, I don't mind this, on top of Velcro on the back. So if you are going to do Velcro, you decide what it is you're going to do. But imagine this full and stuffed with all kinds of cute little goodies. You know, it can be office supplies, it could be makeup. This is sewing, so put sewing stuff in there. But look at those boxed corners there. Don't they look great? This looks exactly the same as this. And it's a really fast project. Add a strap if you want to. Add one of these little guys. Imagine this matching. You make a nice little tag here out of fabric, and this would go on there. So you can do this for any size of your project. You can add the little doodads, all of those kinds of things. So this is the regular size. Remember, this came from the same template that made this. Okay, so those guys are the same. This template is the same thing. Let me show you this. I think this is so cute. This is a little kitchen barbecue theme. If you're going to teach somebody how to not only sew, but maybe work in the kitchen. Then you've got an apron that you made them. You've got some little tools, but that is the small box bag. You can see those corners. This is the same as this. Change out those box corners so they're not nearly as big as this, and it can be a little bit flatter here, and you can do a whole lot with it. So the large one, that's what these guys here are. That's the same size. Let me grab this. I love having all of my scraps of stuff around that I need. This is the large box bag, blue jeans. You know, you got blue jeans that you can find everywhere, but you can see what I did here? I didn't finish because what did I do? I wanted to stuff inside stuff to make it stiffer. So you decide what it is you're going to put inside of there. I like the fusible foam. It really does help, but sometimes even a combination of something else. So all your scraps of fabric or batting or whatever it is that you want, you can put in there as well. I want to show you a couple other boxed projects. This is, remember, the regular box bag, and if you're going to teach somebody how to sew, get them a kit that's already cut. This was a mini rag brick quilt, and the fabric has already been cut. Sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not, but hey, you know, that's the way it goes. Some backing, if you want to give them batting, give them a rotary cutter, but this can be made out of all those scraps that maybe you worked on a quilt and you had leftover blocks, or maybe you just didn't like the block anymore. Notice what I did here, the box bottom there, I chose a different fabric here, so I coordinated that. This project was part of my Boxes, Baskets, Bags, Oh My DVD. Same thing with this one. Again, another set of quilt blocks that you did. I really got into scrappy, crazy quilts a while back. Add the flower on there, add those handles, and it just makes a cute little bag that you can carry for Halloween or fall or whatever it is. Here's another one that's just like we saw before. I want to talk about the handle though, because this handle, I don't know if y'all can see the shape there. That handle right here looks like a bottle. And guess what? I have a headband bottle template. Let's see. I'm trying to think what the best way is to show you that. There we go. All right, see that? This right here on the fold, it's a headband. And normally with the headband, this would be where the fold is. Or it's a bottle block. If you're a modern quilter, it's a really cool block to do, but it makes a really cute handle. So you can do this too. And fussy cutting. Remember fussy cutting? If you've got panels, the panels a lot of times are perfect for the fussy cut blocks that we have here. Here's another one that Tina put together for a teenager. I love blue jeans with all kinds of patterns. She did a whole bunch of goodies for a teenager. And I mean, how cool would that be to give this to somebody? And it's all stuff, just stuff that you picked up at wherever, and it doesn't cost a lot. But think how much fun they would have to be able to store whatever it is in there. So I mentioned Shirley. She did the regular size of the box bag, and then here's the large one. So you could do a Christmas theme. This is winter, but you can also do it for doggies, you know, or kitty lovers or whatever it is, and stuff it full. This stuff inside here doesn't have to match the fabric. You know, this is a great gift for them to have, you know, and to put out during the holidays, but stuff it full of all kinds of stuff that you picked up just for them. Linda McGehee, if y'all know Linda McGehee, Gees, GHEES.com. Gees, Linda loves the box bag template so much. She wrote several patterns. And this one is the L bag. Why? L for Linda and Linda. We did dueling Lindas at Reno several years ago and had so much fun trying to top each other. But do you see that? It's a duffel bag. This is made from the regular size, and the fabric was on the fold here, and then those points come together at the edges there. So it's a really fun project. Imagine the big one. If you use the large box bag template, think how huge that would be. And you don't have to think. You can go watch on Linda McGee's website, gees.com. This is a new pattern that she's coming out with. Again, it's the regular size box bag that we're looking at here. Let me open this up, and you can see, what did she do? She put it, there's the bottom, she put it on the fold again. So basically, we've got this is the box right here, from there to there is the box bag template. There's another one, so you place it on the fold. But this one is a new pattern that she's busy working on. It's hard to write. You know, it's really hard to write patterns when you come up with one. So I can't wait to see what she's done. And this is pre-quilted material, which I think is great. Boxes, baskets, bags. Oh my DVD, I showed you how to do the laminated fabric and oilcloth. And this one we sewed wrong sides together. You can see the bottoms come together there. This is the small box bottom, but it can be just a little tray, but it can also be the top of a box. So if you made a box, you could make a top to go on there as well. But imagine your sewing clips and, you know, pins and all of those goodies in there too. I have one more that I want to show you, if I can get over to it. This is one that my friend Darla did. And let's see. Darla took the box bag, and look how cool this is. Can you all see? There's the box. There's the roof right there. There's 1, 2, 3. I always did 4. She did 3 together, and it changes everything. She did a zipper across. This is not for a beginner sewer. Darla has amazing skills. I want her to come down to Pensacola sometime so we can film together, but look how cool that is. I mean, is that just the cutest thing? The zipper, you can see there's the boxed coming together, but here's that zipper right there. And then she added a cool handle on there too. Isn't that cute? So this is a really fun one. No video, no directions on this. You are on your own with that. Let's see, one other thing here. This one, you can do it flat out of some nice fun fabric. And this can be a cute little, you know, purse to carry or whatever, you know, all your little goodies and those kinds of things in. And you can see I've got a button here that I added. This one's pinned on. I like to audition buttons so I can figure things out. All right, one other thing I wanted to show you real fast, and then we're going to close up. So let's see if I can find the fussy cut frame. When you use a directional fabric, you know, it's a no-no. I mean, you just can't do it. No, you can. You just have to know what it is you're doing. So if I'm looking here and I want to see cappuccino, and I want this to be at the top, this is the small, so we're talking about this little guy here. Imagine I have the larger one there. If I wanted that cappuccino to be here, that's going to be going this way, so I'm going to have to go this way. So I would have to go this way. That gets it in the right direction. Well, everything else is going to be wrong. No, because what you're going to do is you're going to cut out, you know, imagine I'm going this way. Let's do mocha here. So I want the mocha there. I'm going to cut out basically from here down, and that's going to be this part right here. And then for the rest of it, I'm going to be cutting out this way. Does that make sense? So we're going to have a seam going right here. So when you fold that over, this is going to be right directional. And when you fold that over, that's going to be right directional. So if you have a directional fabric that you really want to use for any of these projects where you're folding that over, and that's true of a lot of my other projects besides the box bag, add a seam right there. It's not going to hurt at all to have a seam. It's probably going to help to be able to fold that down and keep it down a little bit. Okay, guys, I had a new project that I think I showed you enough for you to say, I'm going to run with it. There are no written directions for what I just showed you, but I do have written directions that are on my website, so you can go look for those. If you purchased the regular box bag and you wanted to get the large and the small, I've got bundles, I've got all kinds of things. And remember, I'm going to come out with a large fussy cut frame, so be on the lookout for that. So how do you find all of this stuff? Let me pull over my little piece of paper there for you so you can see me. My name is Linda, winner opposite of loser, and my email and my phone number. If you have an email that you sent me and you haven't gotten a response, my emails sometimes don't make it through to me, especially from the website. They don't always get to me. So call me, text me. You can go to my website. When you go there to get to the templates, click on products and templates. I have a pretty good search engine. So if you put in part of box, if you just say box, then the box bag's going to come up. If you put in bag, the box bag's going to come up with a bunch of other things too, of course. But it'll give you all the different bundles and different combinations of that too. My Facebook, if you follow me on Facebook, you know I don't post a whole lot. I always say I'm going to try, but it's tough, you know, when you're trying to do everything that's on the plate. So I will try from time to time. I always post when I'm doing a new video, when I've got some giveaway, and I just did a really big 2-winner giveaway that if you haven't seen the video yet, go look for that. So winter design sewing giveaway, so look for that. And then my YouTube, I've got 200 plus videos for you on YouTube. So subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, like my Facebook page, share my Facebook page, share the post, all those good things. You know, it just helps out with social media. All right, guys, I hope this was enough inspiration to get you going and to get you making, and I would love to see what you do with all of this stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.